Good morning. We are meeting for the last Monetary Policy press conference for the year. The Monetary Policy Board, at the meeting held yesterday, decided to keep the policy interest rate, overnight policy rate, at the current level of 7.75%. Also, the margins to form the standing deposit facility and lending facility will also be unchanged at 50 basis points. The board is of the view that current monetary policy stance will support steering inflation towards the target of 5%. There were several considerations at the board in arriving at these decisions. Let me start with the key discussions happened at the board with some highlights from the key areas. Starting with inflation developments, headline inflation continued to accelerate in October for the third consecutive month after turning positive from August 2025. And on the right-hand side, we are also showing the decomposition of headline inflation. So these are decomposed into 4 categories: food and non-alcoholic beverages, energy and fuel, services inflation, and other categories. We can clearly see that the force that was mainly contributing to the deflation of for 11 months was the energy and fuel category, and that deflation has been continuously adjusting towards the inflation level, and that is partly explaining inflation turning to positive level. And also the other categories in the recent months, we see food inflation picking up, and also services inflation. It's a new category we have added based on the discussion we had at the monetary policy report discussions. So the services inflation is showing a steady component in most of the months. So and other component is relatively varying. Of the inflation projection for the upcoming period, the inflation is projected to rise more gradually than projected earlier, and more towards the target by second half of next year. Co-inflation, which measures the demand pressure in the economy, is also expected to accelerate, but at a moderate pace, as demand in the economy is gradually strengthening. Medium-term inflation expectations remain well anchored around the targeted level of 5%. On the growth side, we see that leading economic indicators suggest that growth momentum continues in the upcoming, the current as well as the upcoming periods. The PMI indices, manufacturing, services as well as construction, has been well above the threshold level of 50 for several months now, indicating favorable growth momentum. Also, the index of industrial production also has been much above the levels prevailed during last 2 years, showing positive year-on-year growth. On the market interest rates, we are showing that how market interest rate has adjusted downward in line with the eased monetary policy conditions since mid of 2023. And the bars are showing the adjustment in important interest rates in 2024 as well as in 2025. On the right hand side, we are showing the composition of loans as shown by the average weighted lending rate in interest rate brackets. So we have compared the situation when we started the easing cycle and the latest development. So we can clearly see that the contribution of loans with lower interest rate brackets has expanded recently. For example, the share of loans below 12.5 is 74% now compared to 33% at the start of the easing cycle. And also 90% of the loans are below 15.5% bracket. So that shows that our eased monetary policy conditions have been passed through to most of the interest rates, and that is benefiting the private sector through lower lending rates. On the credit to private sector, we have seen notable expansion continuing, particularly in the last few months. Thus far, up to first 9 months, credit has grown by 22.1%. And we see that this expansion in credit has been broad-based with major productive sectors as well as consumption having broad shares in the expansion of credit. For example, industry and services have got most of the loans from the commercial banks, and recently we see some pickup in personal loans as well, which is partly because of vehicle related loans to support the vehicle imports. On the external sector, we have seen imports have risen recently, and that is contributing to widening of trade deficit. We have preliminary data for October also that also suggests that further widening of further increase of imports, which is partly because of seasonal demand as well as the recent pickup in vehicle imports. The monthly current account shows for the first time in 2025, monthly current account recorded a deficit in September. But overall, we are seeing a current account surplus for the year as a whole. The last quarter of this year, we may see a deficit continuing with possible expansion in imports. However, these strong inflows from the workers' remittances as well as tourism is cushioning this external current account. During this year, up to 10 months, the tourism earning is estimated at 2.7 billion, and tourist arrival is expected to be about 2 million level. It has already reached 2 million level, and which is likely to be above 2018 level, which was the highest recorded so far in the history. On the workers' remittances, we have received 6.5 billion during first 10 months, and the upcoming months are also expected to be high remittances months. So we may end up the year with the historically highest workers' remittances. Gross official reserves were maintained above 6 billion level thus far during 2025. This was largely supported by net forex purchases by the central bank. As of end October, gross official reserve was estimated at 6.2 billion level, which includes the swap facility from China as well. Recently, we have observed some depreciation pressure on Sri Lanka rupee, but now we see that pressure is subsiding with improvement in forex liquidity in the market. So with this, Central Bank will continue to monitor and assess incoming data on evolving domestic and global economic conditions and emerging risks. The board remains prepared to implement appropriate policy measures to ensure that inflation stabilizes around the target while supporting economy to reach the potential. Thank you.